Right guys, this is just another 36 slides, calling it part 2 of a lot in the series, Are UFOs Real? Actually, there are UFOs and then there are UFOs. So now we're getting into the...
Call them angel foes.
Angel foes. All right, so enjoy this one. So getting down to the meat of things, what are UFOs? So these are angelic, not demonic. The idea a UFO is an alien from the planet X is to suggest evolution and life in space, a recent misdirection by the Talmudic priesthood to make it appear that their Moses God is all powerful when in fact it isn't, always has been, deception. In India there are very detailed descriptions of UFOs. Sanskrit poems were not written down until about 500 BC. It was a non-written language back 7,000 years ago. Simply poems passed down orally for 6,500 years. Proof of angels building ancient monuments is obvious. The altar to the Lord, the Great Pyramid in Egypt. Stones of 70 tons carried, or rather 7 tons carried 600 miles from Aswan, cut, transported over mountains, etc., etc. That being the...
Now, the length of these Sanskrit poems, which are supposed to be 100% accurate, can you believe something 6,500 years of passing these oral traditions down, and there's huge, like it's bigger than the Bible.
Yeah.
Right? And they've all memorized every word of it?
Yes.
Come on.
Well, it's a bit like that. What is it?
What's your name again?
What's the game that's...
How long had I known you before I got your name straight?
the game that's played where you pass around, somebody begins with a sentence,
yeah,
and then you pass it on. Yeah, what is it by the time it gets to the, 30th person, whatever. So
very, very suspect.
So let's take a look at some of these ancient monuments and Stonehenge. What's it all about, Alfie? The 80 to 100 ton blue stone was carved out of cliffs in the Preseli Mountains in Wales. They're so hard that one can hammer on the surface with a steel cold chisel all day and not scratch the surface. However, 222 kilometers. That's how far that, so that's for the Preseli Mountains, is it? To where the stone, okay. 2 yards rebirth hour, of course. Right, the Stonehenge to the North Pole measures 2,329 nautical miles in the Hebrew Concordance. From Isaiah 40:22, it is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. So, it's all about Yah. And the Stonehenge, of course, measures 316.8 feet around, 3168 being Lord Jesus Christ in Greek gematria. So Yah just writes, we see that a great deal of misinterpretation leads us to dismiss a poem or a chant as being a detailed account of a UFO. What has survived are stone structures based on what these UFOs looked like. Moreover, very similar to the UFOs in the book of Ezekiel. It, a major code, I'll explain later. So keywords for UFOs: whirlwind, trumpet, voice of the Almighty, wheels, flying scroll. Ezekiel, once examined, it reveals to us who is God Almighty on the earth today, and an overwhelming proof who he is, when he has already returned, as well as Isaiah reveals every detail leading to the Great Pyramid. So Yah writes, measuring the planets at specific dates in time confirm who the Christ is today. In fact, once you understand how the impossible becomes possible and kept secret by the synagogue of Satan, and what they have done to you, and in particular your children, you will be glad the US military has recognized Christ and saved hundreds of thousands of children from underground torture, adrenochrome factories.
It's going on at the moment.
Yeah, the rescue of them is, yes, continues. Yeah. All right, so we're back. after having another couple of games of chess over a lunch break because
We're
we're already up to an hour and 41 minutes. Yes, we are recording.
Okay.
An hour and 41 minutes.
So let's
and
get into
31
some serious,
slides.
true UFOs.
Right, okay. Which is what you went
They
with.
come in all shapes and sizes, I'm going to show you.
Yes, but
Have we been through Bull Cooper yet?
not yet. We've got to get to him. This is a long and winding road.
Okay.
Now, the point is that people all around the planet have been witnessing and photographing the spheres of light, which is what you saw, like 5 suns
Yeah.
in 1983.
5, of course, is for
Father.
Father.
All right, you can tell this story.
Okay, I witnessed 5 glowing spheres in 1983 while feeling emotional desperation. My eldest daughter, Trace, was having an affair with a rapist who had been the leader of a pack rape of 6 men who raped a woman in the national park, which is where you see these 5 glowing balls, not too far from there. It's a national park, beautiful national park where I used to go to as a child. I had a lot of fun there as a kid. But my daughter, she did something very strange. When I found out that my daughter was going out with this rapist and staying overnight, a neighbour had told me, or a friend down the street had told me. So I drove up the driveway, foaming, angry, and Eileen was standing out on the concrete in front of the garage. And I pulled up and I said, "Do you know about this?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "How long has it been going on?" 6 months, she says. I said, "Why the hell didn't you tell me so I could do something about it?" You'll never believe what she said.
Yes, we do.
She said, "You're such a nice man. You will do anything for anybody. And I wanted to get even." Now, does that prove to you I was married to a demon? So Tracy, that afternoon, I grabbed her and I said, "What the hell are you doing? This man's a bloody on bail for raping and bashing a woman with 5 other men." She was actually a tourist from England.
Right.
And she camped overnight. And they grabbed her.
Yes.
I said, "What the hell are you doing? Don't you understand that this is a mate?" And she said to me the most astounding thing I've ever heard in my life. Worse than what Eileen had said. She said, "You're nothing better than a rapist." At that moment, my heart went like this. Gone. She could have evaporated into space as far as I was concerned. There was no love there whatsoever. At the same time, the headmaster, shortly after that,
and this is now Janelli High School, which
Janelli
is in
High School,
this same area.
same area,
Sydney.
Loftus, where I was living.
Yep.
And he phoned me to come in and see him, and the second daughter, which she wasn't my child, she got pregnant, Eileen got pregnant while we were broken up. But something told me I had to continue the marriage. He told me that she was having sex with the boys in a cave at the back of the school, and I was a big man, and he's a small man, and he was crying. So I said to him, "Look, I understand being a headmaster, you're a good man." I said, "But I've married to a town harlot. It's carried on." I said, not the fatherless kid in here. And I said, "But just don't worry about it." And that was the end of her. At that moment, I couldn't have cared less because she lived and died. The little one, Nicole, she still had a chance because she was younger. She was 6.66 years under Shemaine, behind Shemaine. So I think, hello, it's all happening. Because I'm in hell, I realise that I've come into hell to get you all out. So I have to still keep on enduring the suffering that the devil, if you like, Satan, Lucifer, call it what you like, was in these people, and they were there. So they were certainly in these 2 girls. The only chance I had was to save Nicole, which later on I was able to get her to go live with a grandmother up in Lithgow. So I was in desperation at the time, so I had a vision of it when I was a boy, as I said. I also had a vision of her going, Tracy, the oldest one, go out for, was it congenital? Conjugal sex.
Yeah.
Underage, of course.
Mm.
At Long Bay Jail, he got 18 years, this guy, for aggravated brutal rape.
Mm.
But he did promise her they're going to go to Queensland and breed horses when he gets out.
Yeah.
Oh, she loved horses. This is what I'm dealing with. So, is it a script that was written by the devil? I'd say so.
Now, people today are focused on light, which is from God, and then the
God
dark,
is love, God is light.
Yeah, and then the dark energy.
But God doesn't judge. It's the whole point. I do.
Yeah.
That's what my job is.
Yeah.
I've got to experience life, experience what God cannot experience.
Mm.
The only way God comes on the earth is the soul of God comes to the earth. That's why Jesus on the cross bled to death, and in the soul of Jesus is the blood, or the blood is the soul of Jesus, and that's the Father. That's why all animals that are conceived by a male, of course, the blood comes from the male.
Yes.
So on that basis, this is where they hadn't been able to kill me all these years. They tried very hard.
So the point is that God is love and light.
God is love, I tell you.
Right, and so He needs the judge on the earth.
That's right.
Because He's
independent.
And that's you.
I say, well, why does God let it happen? I said, no, it's not God let these things happen. You let it happen. The Christianity and the Muslims are all bullshitted, and the Jews, of course, are all bullshitted to let these horrible things occur, because there's a spiritual battle with me on the earth in the physical and spiritual realm. I'm in both. Right? That's why the angels come to me. So, in desperation of this, I should say the school, 3868 miles to the South Pole, is to be perverse. Now, she fits it exactly. So Stanwell Tops is 3854 miles to the South Pole, and says, have arrived. And what had arrived? These 5 stars, these 5 angels, these 5 glowing orbs.
Spheres of light.
Yeah.
And they were like suns, weren't they? They were gold,
exactly like a sun.
Gold in colour, yeah.
So, in my desperation, I drove to Stanwell Tops to think, really, and to take notes and always doing calculation. There, from a lookout overlooking the sea, the area is known as Stanwell Tops, New South Wales, south of Sydney, about 23 miles from 105 Rothschild Avenue, where I lived with my family until 942 days old. I can't help myself, I've got to say that. I will explain in more detail later, but first I wanted to talk about Bill Cooper.
Yeah, this is where we move on to Bill Cooper. So, by the time...
American hero. Definitely, absolutely, 100%.
By the time you're viewing this over at the YouTube, just to mention, BitChute is not letting me process anything that I'm uploading to BitChute, so BitChute bites the dust, and we'll be back on the main channel Tuesday, I think it is, we're released.
You got to remember that the military, I've already convinced, it took me...
Yeah, and that's all you're concerned about.
It took me a very long time to do that.
That's all you're concerned about.
Until the Trump days, when that sort of released the military from the clutches of the devil.
Well, they needed somebody to...
So they've been watching me for a long time. So these UFOs are angelic events, numbers, i.e. dates, are messages. I married in 1966, April 23rd, which I've said many times. So imagine it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle. The pieces, events, numbers scattered over 77 years of events.
Right, okay.
All over the place.
When we say these UFOs, it's the ones we're about to talk about now.
Yeah.
With Bill Cooper and like this one that happened in Australia on... Right, so I'll take it up. Now, the Australian UFO sighting in 1966, April the 6th, hello, that was 17 days before your marriage to Lucifer's Choice. It was 200 children, a science teacher. Now, we'll cover that in a bit. That was in Westall.
So here's a jigsaw puzzle piece, April the 6th.
Yes, that's right.
Go back to 1943, that's when I arrived.
Yeah, that's the conception. Now, the area code of Westall, where this took place, was 3168, Lord Jesus Christ, in Greek Gematria. But Ezekiel is numbered 3168 in the Hebrew Concordance, and of course it's Lord Jesus Christ Greek Gematria. And my home from 1997, that's on Nell Street at a latitude 31680 kilometres around the Earth. That home, 5813 kilometres from the South Pole, which is the height of the altitude of the Lord the Great Pyramid in pyramid inches, the completed height. Now, of course, 1966 in the Hebrew Concordance is Lucifer. So Yah just says, naturally reborn out of the pit of hell, following my mother conceiving me. And that opened the pit of hell for the souls who died since creation to be reborn, live a demon-filled life, and then to face judgment.
I found that thing yesterday about the best experience I've seen of children that had, and ladies and gentlemen, that had near-death experiences. And this little girl, 3 years old,
yes,
fell in a swimming pool.
Swimming pool, yes, I watched it too.
An angelic experience where she had to come and find the child.
Well, she stopped.
She found her.
Yeah.
She found her. Now, the child, when she revived, she said, she told about what happened up in heaven, the beautiful lights, the love and the Jesus,
the colours and
all this kind of stuff.
The learning.
And when she come back, she could learn. She didn't have to learn anything. She had it all. Yep, that's how I was.
What she said was, more specifically, which is what you have said, is that I no longer had to learn anything. It was like I had to remember. I just had to remember, which is what you say. It's a memory. It's a memory. It's a memory. Yeah, their experiences were stunning. And
what was her name, do you remember?
Ingrid. That was Ingrid. But right. The other ones, they were all stunning, and their beautiful experiences tailor-made for their souls. But you know, God is love. His light. It's all about love. All about love. And she came, when she came back as the 3-year-old, her soul was no longer 3 years old. It had, you know, awakened to all that was within her soul, and was like the soul of an adult in the body. It's like, oh my God. And she started to get irritated with, like, others people, don't they get it? Yeah. So like you as a child, as you've said many times. So that was Ingrid. But yeah. All right, so Bill Cooper. At one time, he was an Admiral's secretary. He reviewed all information that was sent to the Admiral. So he was the censor for the Admiral. And he would have read some very interesting information before passing it on. But as a young man in 1966, he served on the submarine USS Tiru, SS-416. Cruising at 10 knots, the crew on watch observed a UFO disc shape rise out of the ocean, ascend to the clouds, and then return and splash into the sea and rise up again to the clouds. The report said it tumbled over and over, and it was making itself clearly seen from all perspectives as a flying saucer. It was described as tumbling up, so it would tumble over and over up towards the clouds again. So so it was just giving you a bird's eye view to take a good look at what it looked like. Why was Cooper on board? Because he was preordained to be there to enlighten him and finally expose the US behind the 9/11 Twin Towers demolition, start the never-ending war on terror. And but on the internet, there's crew members, their observation of what happened on the net. So here it is. This is actually taken from this. So 10 knots, when the port lookout reported a strange contact at a range of 2 miles, bearing 315 degrees, Greek Concordance 315, necessary distress. The lookout refused to tell the OOD that it was he that had seen, and instead insisted that the starboard lookout and the OOD both look out in that area. The 3 men looked through their binoculars toward the sea, the area reported, and were astounded to see a metal craft larger than a football field tumble from the clouds into the ocean. It actually tumbled over and over, and when it hit the water and sank beneath the ocean, huge geysers of water rose into the air. And when the port lookout was sure that the others had seen it, he then told the OOD that he had seen it tumble from the ocean up into the clouds. The OOD and the starboard lookout was speechless. Within a few minutes, however, they all became excited when it rose, again rose from the water and tumbled up into the cloud layer. Note, they became excited, not terrified. At about the same time, a crew member below queried the bridge about a radar contact at the same range and bearing. Sonar also reported strange echoes. The OOD called for the captain to come to the bridge at that time. He also called for the camera to be sent to the bridge. The captain arrived on the bridge within 2 minutes, and the chief quartermaster was right behind him with the camera. At about the same time, the object emerged from the clouds and fell down into the ocean. All 5 men witnessed this. The QMC, the quartermaster, took pictures as it rose up into the clouds and then back down into the ocean once again. The 5 men watched for quite a while longer, but nothing else happened. Soon the sub had moved out of visual range, and the captain told all witnesses that they were never to discuss what they had seen with anyone under any circumstances. He stated that the incident was classified information, and so Greek 315 is necessitate to constrain. So the sighting was for Cooper. He went on to begin ham radio broadcasts and predicted 9/11, and that Bin Laden would take the blame. Yeah, yes, and
but the interesting point is, why didn't the captain say make a left and go and see it? He just kept going the straight. So in other words, they've all been programmed. These captains have been all, keep your eyes closed. When you see anything,
deny.
Don't investigate.
Yeah.
Keep everything quiet. Don't let the crew know.
Yes.
Well, how would you keep that quiet in a crew of submarines? Well, they're underwater. Right?
Now again, it was this time, November 10th, 2004, the carrier Nimitz tracked 10 objects they described as a tic-tac shaped, about the same size as a fighter jet. So on that date, Yar was 22,220 days old, or 60.83 years. Therefore, like the Cooper sighting on the Tiro in 1966, 6083 is found in Proverbs and links to myself, says Yah, Proverbs 8:26, while as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. And then you search for 2222, it's the word Zoe in the Greek concordance, it means life. The sighting was a message for me. It was angelic, and of course it leads to Isaiah 22:22, which is all about the key of the house of David, and that's Yah. Jets were scrambled, and the radar report these objects would descend to sea level from 28,000 feet to 50 feet in less than a second. The speed of their descent estimated to be over 24,000 miles per hour. And of course, again, the information was censored. Now, the UFO sighted by Cooper in 1966, why was it turning out? Well, to demonstrate intelligent maneuvers, to show the shape and size as well as not affected by the impact. And then the tic-tac objects of the Nimitz. Now, the Nimitz has been in the news because it's been in the Persian Gulf, joined another carrier in the South China Sea, and is supposed to be heading home after being almost a year away at sea to Bremerton. Right, so all of this leading on to Isaiah 22:22 and the key of the house of David, which is the most royal. The key of the house is the descendant of David, the most royal man. Yah's writings in the brackets. Will I lay upon his shoulder, that is physical, so he, mental ability, shall open truth, and none shall shut. And he shall shut, stop the proofs, and none shall open. And Yah writes, overwhelm all scholars to silence. That only the Lord in the body of a man, the most royal man, can at his option reveal the mysteries which only Christ can open or shut. Yeah, and here's the description of the Nimitz, the tic-tac. This is a giant tic-tac, isn't it? Makes me...
Have to suck on that for a few days before
Oh,
you
totally. I just feel like a tic-tac right now, so it's minty. Yeah, so Cooper was an American hero. Top secret. So, moving right along to the Roswell incident is a total fabrication.
I'd like to say that the submarine that was commissioned in 1944, so there's another number that lines up.
Oh, right, that's the Tiru.
Yeah.
The Tiru was that, yeah. So, yeah, just wants to make clear that genuine angelic UFOs don't crash. And, of course, Bill Cooper was murdered. He, naming and blaming and all the rest of it, he was murdered. There we go. So this is back to the original one, as somebody describing. So this is the 1966 report. It was a metal craft with machinery on and around the outside of it. It appeared to have windows or lenses placed around its perimeter. It made no noise that we could hear. It did not disturb this submarine's electrical systems, nor did it affect the gyro compass. It looked very much like a round flying ship, as in sea-going ship. It had the shape and form of a saucer with a bowl inverted
we're not back
in
to
the
the
saucer.
cake shop, are we?
No, we're not back to the cake shop. This is the actual, yeah. And it was huge. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And continuing with the description, when I first saw this craft, I believe that my heart literally stopped beating and I was terrified. Oh, this is where the terror comes in. Okay. The name of the OOD was Ensign Ball. The starboard lookout was an American Indian seaman that the crew called Geronimo. The port lookout was a new man who left the sub soon after the return to Pearl Harbor, and his name was Cooper. So that's Bill. I do not remember the captain's name nor the chief quartermaster's name. So this is one of the men who witnessed this encounter. And so as much as they said they were excited, they were terrified too. And continues, this is the first time I have ever mentioned it since the moment that the captain told me that it was classified. As far as I know, it has never been reported to the public before this instant. It should be easy to verify the facts if you can get a copy of the log and or contact the other witnesses. The names should not be too hard to find in the ship's logs. I was the port lookout. I must say that I feel a great uneasiness in posting this, much like the way I felt in Vietnam when my life was in great danger. The submarine crew witnessed the UFO in July 1966, and of course that's the year though.
I've been trying to get the exact date and I haven't found it.
I can't find it, right? So, well, it's interesting that all things seem to be happening in July regarding these UFOs. Look back at we've just discussed at the beginning of the July you're in Belize and July that report last year on July 2020. Right, so continues with the biblical mentions of UFOs. Ezekiel has several verses describing UFOs. Wheels within wheels, the voice of God blasting out like loudspeakers. Ezekiel 10:5, specifically the voice of Almighty God. 105 Rothschild Avenue, your rebirth. Yeah. UFOs mentioned in ancient India, Sanskrit related in poems, not written down till 500 BC. There it is again. Now reading Ezekiel 1:16 in the Geneva, the fashion of the wheels and their work was like unto a chrysolite, and they four had one form, and their fashion and their work was as one wheel in another wheel.
It's very close to the King James Version, but remember there's 150 versions of the Bible. With the Geneva Bible, they do have notes with them.
Yeah.
Now the one Bible to avoid, which is not online, is a Schofield Bible.
Oh yeah.
And that one has all of the pro-Talmudic bullshit in it.
Yeah.
And was financed by
the lovely people,
lawyers in New York, I think.
Yeah. So UFOs were some, like Bill Cooper's life. UFOs were part of it. And right now, so halfway down reading, it was in 1966. This is again another account about this sighting, and it's a bit more specific because it talks about where they were coming from, when they were headed. In 1966, during the month of the Rose Festival, and we determined that is sometime towards the end of May and into June. In 1966, during the month of the Rose Festival in the Pacific Northwest, although didn't we just read the other guy said it was July?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. So it was the month of the Rose Festival that year. Okay. The USS Tiru, it left Pearl Harbor bound for Seattle, Washington. The sub moored to a civilian pier near the downtown Seattle area, and thousands of people toured the sub during its stay in Seattle. After its duty as showboat, it proceeded to a back bay area where it underwent torpedo trials. I believe the area was called Dabod Bay, pronounced Dabob, but I'm not sure of the spelling. I include the above information because it should be easy to research. All right, so that was the finishing of the account from the eyewitness who. Okay, so yeah, Roswell, says, let the show begin. The demons behind this world famous contrivance had no idea it would pinpoint the Messiah had come, which we've already discussed in...
Not quite.
Well, not quite, but yeah, let's...
I'm saying here's different topic.
Right.
Let the show begin. The demons behind the world famous contrivance had no idea it would pinpoint the Messiah had come. Now, how does something like that pinpoint the Messiah has come?
Right, let's have a look.
Well, we'll show. Just a little miracle.
Right, so this, so you found, this is a photograph of Walter Haupt.
That's him, that's what he looked like when I met him.
Right, all right, so we've already introduced him earlier in this, so it was July, 1992, that Yah interviewed Walter Haupt, who was born June the 3rd, 1922, died December 15th, 2005.
83 or something.
Yeah, and he was a 33-degree Scottish Rite Freemason. He was 21.6 years older than Yah. In the Greek concordance, dumb, mute.
And he was.
So Yah's story was...
Well, I thought at the time about as dumb as dog shit.
Okay, it's pretty dumb. I told him I was writing a book and gave him the 33-degree handshake. He relaxed and then told me that the bank below, so it gave him the entire 6th floor for free. He said he was the public relations officer for the 509th, stationed in Roswell, New Mexico, and that he saw all 4 alien greys. One was still alive. His job was to create a display on the 6th floor. So this is in Roswell.
He said they were about 3 foot tall, short and stocky.
Right, okay. We talked as he showed me around little sand boxes, a grey laying near a crashed saucer. Yah said he was a liar, fumbling for words to convince me. It was all very pathetic. And then since then, a new museum has grown up in worldwide fame. Oh,
it's on the main street. Of course, it's on ground level.
Yeah. So, here we go. So, Yah says the original story he was told was that grey and short, 3 to 4 feet tall, with a big head. 3 were dead. The survivor, laying on the desert floor, flung clear on impact or had crawled out of the wreck. Since then, the new museum has had a startling change. They are tall, thin, big eyes, more in tune with abduction types.
And the flying saucer is much larger than it was described originally. 3.5 metres by 2.5 metres was the actual size he described to me.
Right.
And now, look at the size of it now.
Yeah, right. So this is the bank building, is it?
No, the bank building, that was...
I see.
This is a new building, more appropriate, probably the US government paying for it.
Yeah. CIA.
It was very, very important for them to come up with UFOs.
Oh, yeah, it is. I'm trying
Evolution, see?
Yeah, Paul, he was I think he was Polish. He had a Polish-like name, but he was the one that came forward, and as the CIA, it was his job to follow people around who might have things, and to convince them that what they saw was real and build up the whole drama of it all. And,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here
I'd
we
like to
go.
know what that is around the neck.
It looks like foil.
Tin foil, but why?
Silver
They're
foil.
completely naked otherwise. No genitals.
All right, so the UFO display has been moved from the bank building to a street level, but note the latitude. This is the Roswell, and then talk about aliens, Roswell to Eileen. The latitude, both locations, 33.39 degrees north, and Eileen's location, 33.39 degrees south. And Eileen's latitude 150.086, so that's 1500 is Isaiah 3:14 rather. And Eileen Joyce Rosewarne has a total simple geometry of 226, which is the width of the Queen's chamber. It's 226.3339 pyramid inches, and that's reflected in the latitude of her family home. Hello. So,
In other words, Roswell is on the same latitude north as her home, on the same latitude south.
Yeah, bottom line, totally evil. This is what Lucifer does. It transforms, transfigures. The distance between the two is 7151 nautical miles. In the Hebrew concordance is buildings, floor of a building. Hello. It's found and is city, found in Isaiah 121. How is the faithful city become a harlot? It was full of judgment. Righteousness lodged in it, but now murderers. So we're describing the harlot Eileen in the south at that latitude, but then what the city had become, full of judgment. So yes, Eileen, the harlot of her city in Lithgow, the area of the property owned by her father originally has an area of 31,101 square metres, as per Yar's handheld Magellan GPS. And Yar says he reminds the military, I measure the Earth with Magellan software, as we all know now that Google Earth alters its database.
And now for the miracle.
Yeah, all right, let's get moving right along.
There's Eileen's father had all that property, and as you see, bits have been carved off, and up in the top right there's a little sawmill, etc.
Right.
So I walked around the fence line, and it comes up with 31101 square metres, which is the same number that's found in the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber.
Yeah.
And also the Julian day I was born on, 2431101.
Yes.
It's the Julian day I was born on.
However,
so go ahead, you do it.
all right, so now we're taking the decimal latitude of Eileen's location and changing it into degrees, minutes and seconds, and it becomes 332323.97. And Messias, 3323 is Messias. The Roswell Museum, it then becomes 33 degrees, 2337.13, which is also Messiah, found in John 1:41. He first findeth his own brother Simon, and saith unto him, We have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted the Christ. Now, measuring from Eileen's bedroom as a child to my bedroom as a child at 114 O'Riordan Street, so 942 days old you were when you moved from 105 Rothschild Avenue up to 114 O'Riordan Street, Mascot. It's exactly 118.22 kilometres, which is the stone from Psalms. The stone which the builders refused has become the headstone of the corner. Now, this happened. This is the rejected capstone of the Great Pyramid, the altar to the Lord. I just want to say right here that, and I was going to type it in, but I will just talk about it. From the last in the series of the Altar to the Lord, the 202 solar eclipses that aligned with the 202 layers up to the summit platform. The last of that series was November the 14th in the year 2012. And it was exactly 118 days from that date until Monday, the 11th of March 2013, when you began your communications with Pope Benedict XVI. And then the very next day, he announced to the world that he had finally met you through the email, Salvator Mundi. So that was overturned. The rejection of the capstone was overturned by Benedict recognizing you as Salvator Mundi.
Right.
And it was exactly, I know I worked it out to the minute, because it was 118 days, and of course the 0.22 part of a day occurred from the instant throughout that day. So I'm just another thread in the perfection of the tapestry. Now, getting to the Westall UFO, this is the one in Victoria, Melbourne, on the 6th of April 1966. It was around 11 a.m. for about 20 minutes. More than 200 students and teachers at 2 Victorian state schools allegedly witnessed an unexplained flying object which descended into a nearby open wild grass field. The paddock was adjacent to a grove of pine trees in an area known as the Grange, which is now a nature reserve. According to reports, the object then ascended in a northwesterly direction over the suburb of Clayton, South Victoria, Australia. It was followed by 5 objects as it moved away from the area. So now we have the date, April the 6th, and of course Ya's mother conceived in 1943, April the 6th, exactly 1910 years after the resurrection, which was April the 6th, Australian time.
5 objects followed it.
Yes, your 5 angels, yeah. Again, 1966, Lucifer in the Hebrew Concordance. Now, it was in 1998, so 32 years after this, 32 as angel, worked for a kitchen company in Clayton, the suburb of Melbourne, 18 kilometres southeast of the central business district. Its area, 7.7 kilometres squared, Ya's age today, 77, and its postal code 3168, Lord Jesus Christ.
It's 500 metres from the spot, that factory.
Right. Oh, right, from this spot, okay. And here it is. And of course, as soon as Ya says Grange, we both burst out about Home on the Grange.
Home on the Grange.
Home on the Grange. Does that song go? Home on the Range.
On the range,
yeah. But how does it go, the tune?
Home on the range with the deer and the buffaloes.
Oh, where the deer and buffalo
play or something.
Rome, isn't it? Rome or
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's heard, but the sound of a bird or something like that.
Oh yeah. Actually, I was in was I in Colorado? This was on the road trip looking for you, before I found you, obviously. But and we arrived in that area. It was high up. Yeah, I'm sure it was Colorado, and arrived at this. I still remember the billboard. This massive slice of pizza, and it talked about the range, a small slice of heaven, home on the range. It was massive. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that was on the way to Kremlin, Colorado. All right, so 26.7 kilometres from the home on Nell Street, and that brings us right back to the beginning of Job, the patience of Job.
If you examine that, what's it actually saying? That the earth was formed, hung in an empty place. In other words, nothing in space at all.
Yeah.
In an empty place in the north.
Yes. North of
it's
what?
intentional.
The galaxy.
North of the Milky Way galaxy when it was formed after that.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
That's also one side of the pyramid in Tahiti, which is 499 0 miles to the South Pole, which is Christ, Messiah, Saviour.
Exactly. So UFOs are vehicles that angels use for transporting angels or monoliths, carrying things. In the hundreds of stone monuments around the world, many were built prior to the flood of Noah, when Mars collided with the Earth. And the oceans of Mars washed onto the Earth, punched out the moon. It ejected as magma at 2200 degrees Celsius and flung out into space to minus 455 degrees Fahrenheit, absolute zero of space. So that's where the moon formed into a sphere.
Pyramid number again.
Yeah, that's right, with huge bubbles of gas forming perfectly round craters like porridge. But UFOs pass from the heavenly realm of non-matter into matter in seconds. People call them dimensions. Well, it is, into another dimension. Beyond the veil, into another dimension. We've all, I know, I've talked about Al, the 3-hour encounter I had. Yaz had an encounter with angels, but yeah, they're in and out of another dimension. I call it beyond the veil. To appear as glowing orbs of light or mechanical shapes. Yah says, during my life here on earth, I have seen many ghosts, and when I revealed these sightings, which I saw at the moment someone had died, for example, or as a haunting, Yah's seen both, my relatives belittled me, in particular, Ronald, right? The following is a description of the 5 spheres of light that did appear for 20 minutes or so at Stanwell Tops, south of Sydney. All right, we've already, all right, so this is going, we've already seen the illustration that with the orbs of light. Again, it was 1983, a few miles parked over on a particular night.
Just a bit more detail, that's all.
Yes, all right, so I won't read this, you can read that, we'll go to the next one. Yeah, here it is here. And we visited there when we were staying with Jonas, didn't we? On our trip, when we came back from Manila.
That's right, that's why I gave her a 10 grand ring.
Yes, but that was years ago.
Did it have a, did I not leave the label on it saying $10,000?
No, you didn't leave the label.
Well, did I not have the assessor from the jewellers?
The insurance.
11 grand or something?
That's not what you paid for it. Because
you didn't have to bring that into it.
That's what it was valued at, but I knew you immediately. I said you did not. Everybody knows.
How do you know?
Because I know. You know that title, the King of the Jews, that they called him?
Well, I'm not a Jew and I never was.
Exactly. But
I did buy it off a Jewish auction in New York.
Yeah. So here it is, the location in Stanwell Tops. And yes, they were similar to the sun, 5 suns.
And see, when we went down there to show you where it was, the trees have been all overgrown. And they'd sold off some of the property, I guess.
Yes.
222 was the street number.
Yes, 222 was the yep, certainly was. Now, what's interesting, I also said to Yah, this is my pondering over this. It was 1983 that he was at this point, and to me, the 5 spheres also represent like 5 revolutions of time, and it was 25 years. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 years from when this happened in Yah's life, and then we were there in 2008. It was May the 29th, 2008, and I knowing, I would not be surprised at all if it was May the 29th that you were there in 1983, because I looked up the sunlight for the day, and the sun, the sun going dim at that time, it was about 5:22 in the afternoon.
Worrying about dates at that time, I was too distressed.
No, I understand that, but the perfection of everything, I'm just saying the perfection of everything, I bet you bottom dollar it was that date, or very close to it. May. Looking at sunrise, sunset, what, you'd finished work for the day? Had you been to work that?
Contract. I was
All right.
I made my own machines, and I was installing siding and guttering,
Right.
which are machines I made.
Right. So what time did you typically knock off work?
Oh, depending on the job, 4:30.
Right. Okay. So
I want to get home to see the kids, really.
Right. Sun setting. It had already set at 5:22.
That's about right.
That's right. So that's my point. And the twilight was over very shortly after that. So, because what happened was that
It started to get bright again.
yes, the sun went down, then it rose again. Yeah.
Now the Wollongong, you can't actually see it. It's in the distance there to the left. So at night it sparkles. That little township is Stanwell Tops down the bottom there.
Yeah.
That was actually where the first flight of man took place.
Yeah, that's Stanwell Park down there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
We're at the top called Stanwell Tops, overlooking Stanwell Park.
So this fellow had built a kite and tethered it to the ground with a long rope, and he got with the air coming up the hill, he got 16 feet off the ground in this kite.
Yeah.
So it was the actual first flight of man was in this area.
Okay.
Sorry, Orville.
Yeah, so the orbs were descending very slowly, each perhaps 75 feet across.
Maybe
50
something
feet.
like that.
Yeah, but they were in a straight line. And as I stood watching, the surrounding area was dark, but the light from these orbs was shining on the trees and the forest floor. Over time, descending through the trees, the hill higher to the east.
A very long time.
Yeah. Each ball descended in a line, the most eastern passing through the trees. So does that mean that
you're on the side of a hill, right?
Yes, yeah.
So as they're coming down, to my right, it was the highest part of the mountain.
Yes.
And then to the left was going down into a valley. So as the orbs come down, the first one went further into the tree line.
Yeah.
It's followed by the second, third, fourth and fifth.
Yeah.
And then the first one just disappeared slowly into the ground, while the second one was coming in slightly after it, and it started to go into the ground. Then the third, the fourth and the fifth, and the light went out and we're in darkness.
Yeah. Oh.
It was a beautiful thing to see.
Right. So it lasted about half an hour.
Maybe more.
Right, we've talked about the house. So, yeah.
That's how it's grown up since, right?
Yeah. You can see the slope, though, of the...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife ring was May 29th, 2008. And then we to find the 222, that was in 2018 when we came back from Manila and stayed 3 days with Jonas and his family. And we made a special trip to take photographs of this area.